And see.
Like in the throwback reference to the chess versus checkers.
Like, you know they can hear you, right?
Yeah.
Come on. Guys, we're back. Week 1 podcast on YouTube this season. We're doing it live on YouTube instead of going through Twitch and then uploading later. One-stop shop this year. Streamline, you may notice the new overlay. Looks a little fancy. Fuck off. All the work I did on this for like a week. The new overlay, the new logo at the bottom, which I made myself, which is why it looks like a third grader did it. All the new stuff. We also are on YouTube, so YouTube chat is open. We will be checking that throughout the episode. So, our week 1 tradition, as always, is to do our biggest steals, our biggest, each of us will pick our biggest steal. Each of us will pick our biggest reach. We'll also do top 3 teams in our opinion, bottom 3 teams, and we'll close it out with the week 1 predictions. James is with us until 6:45. James, a guest appearance on the podcast, episode 1 this year. I'm trying to get everybody on the podcast, and James is taking the lead on this. So thanks, James, for coming on.
I expect big things from the rest of you as well. We're all getting on this at some point or another.
It's so nice of you to join us the same way you joined us at the draft, virtually. No, I'm just kidding. Given that he
should have taken the train down.
Given that he has already left New York twice for us, or like he's already left New York once and is coming back, I appreciate you taking all the efforts to come see us regularly. So without further ado, let's get into the moment we've been waiting for. And I figured this year we would start with, instead of last year we did we've always done top 3, bottom 3 first, and then we talk about biggest steal and biggest reach. But I feel like at that point, the surprise is gone, right? Because the top 3, bottom 3 teams, usually that includes biggest steal, biggest reach. So I feel we'll start with steal and reach first and work our way to the top 3, bottom 3. So what are I got 3, and you guys can feel free to name as many as you'd like, but I've got 3 of the biggest steals I thought in the draft. I'll start with James first. James, biggest steal in the draft, or one of your biggest steals. Go ahead.
I think a big steal in the draft, I think Saquon Barkley at the 17th overall. I think he went after a bunch of other running backs that are not going to do as well as him. I think he's going to come back healthy, and I think Fresh Prince of Bel-Air can be set up well on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the big question with Saquon, and the reason his draft stock fell so much, the reason I passed on him at 16, is just the injury risk. I mean, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He still only went as the 7th running back, so it's not like he fell so crazy far. But
true.
Going into last season, if you said that you got him at 7, you'd be fucking ecstatic.
Exactly. As the 7th running back on the board, you'd be crazy. And
I think his fall is more recency bias than it is almost anything else, because if he stays, obviously health is an issue, but if he stays healthy, he's right in the conversation with Christian McCaffrey as the number 1.
I think I heard a podcast once that talked about the bad taste we get in our mouths when a player goes down for the year. We don't want to draft them again the next year. So they always tell you, get your mouth washed, get it cleaned out, and get ready for this player to rise. I just don't know that. Again, I like Chubb's consistency over Saquon this year. Just even though it's weird. Looking back on that, maybe Saquon was the better pick. I don't know. What about you, Jerry? What do you think for big steals?
I'm kind of pissed off about it. I probably would have said my own pick of Julio in the 6th, but how does Adam Thielen fall to the back half of 7?
Yeah.
And I'm pissed off because if I had known he was available, I would have fucking taken him.
Oh, that's right. There was that moment in the draft where you were wait, Adam Thielen?
I literally had him crossed off. I don't understand how the fuck I crossed him off when he wasn't picked. But no, Adam Thielen was where did he actually finish last year? I'm pretty sure he finished as a top 10 wide receiver.
Did he?
And I know about 4 or 5 weeks in, I don't remember exactly what week it was, but I traded him because it was I had 4 top 15 wide receivers. I'm a little curious where he actually landed at the end of last year. I'm looking up right now
for 2020 season. Oops. 2020 season in fantasy points. Adam Thielen was.
Did he miss some time at the end of the year?
He might have.
He missed a lot of time, so he's pretty far down there.
I guess we can do points per game too.
Cole Beasley
Oh no,
was not
actually
the
he's number 7 of last year.
Was he 7?
Yeah, you're only looking at free agents.
Oh, whoops, that's the problem. I'm like, why is Cole Beasley?
I was like, Cole Beasley was not the number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, so he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have him as 8.
Yeah, I mean, the number.
Yeah. But though, like on average, putting up the 6th most points per game, or 7th most, I'm sorry. And Will Fuller was 6th. Didn't know that, huh? Yeah.
But,
granted with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
which is
Adam Thielen, a top 10 wide receiver, going at the back half of the second round.
It
just. I don't know how that happens.
Too, because nothing in that situation changed. Like Adam Thielen has his own injury issues, but he's still got Kirk Cousins. Now he's got another wide receiver that's going to pull off coverage.
Yeah, he's not getting doubles anymore. Like, how much time did he actually? I don't know if he missed that much time last year. He missed 1 game last year.
So I feel like this. Maybe I didn't do this right, but like the steals that I identified, the biggest value picks I identified in the draft, in my opinion, were all in like the 3rd and 4th rounds. And I know that's not necessarily like where you think of a steal. You think of a steal like a guy who really fell far out of his value.
Yeah. I mean, the main reason I say someone like Adam Thielen, like I think I got him in the. Obviously, it's a little bit different with the 2 quarterbacks, but Julio normally.
Like I think last year was like a first or second rounder for me, like right at the 10-11 turn.
Like, does he really fall off that much in Tennessee?
The question is, it's another year old, or there's an injury, and then there's also A.J. Brown to feed. Like,
but again, no more doubles for Julio Jones.
I will say that I thought Julio was a fantastic pick. I'm gonna talk about your 6-7 turn later on in the show. Yeah. But anyway, the guy, I'll start with what I thought was the biggest. If I had to pick one, it would be this. It would probably be Alex getting Najee Harris.
The 4th round.
Yeah, like a lot of the guys in the league use Fantasy Pros, the expert consensus rankings they have for free. They had him as in standard leagues as number 13 off the board. My rankings, I had him number 25. He got him at 32 overall. Not huge. I just think Najee has monster potential for Alex's teams. And now he has also one of my favorite names of the league this year, Menage a Trois. Fantastic name, Alex. Well done. But the fact that, you look at Alex's team, right? His running backs are Zeke and Najee Harris. If Najee Harris blows up and Zeke does what he's supposed to do, he might have the best running backs in the league. In addition to Russell Wilson, Justin Jefferson were early. Alex's first 4 rounds of the draft, in my opinion, were the best out of anybody. And it's because he just nailed all 4 picks in terms of value. If you watch this kid at Bama, he looked insane. And that's why the Steelers used a first rounder on him. He can catch out of the backfield. He has strength. He has speed. And just the right amount of patience in the backfield, waiting for gaps to develop.
I actually think Justin Jefferson's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in Minnesota as well. So it makes that getting Najee after Justin Jefferson. He's got, I think it's absolutely right, great value there.
Yeah, I mean, like, the comparison that I was hearing when the NFL draft was going on to Najee was, and they always do this, they like try to pick someone in the NFL that they think this player could be someday. But, like, the comparison that I've been hearing for this kid is Le'Veon Bell. And I think, like, Le'Veon Bell in his prime, not Le'Veon Bell in New York and Kansas City. But I think that bodes well for Alex. And it especially in light of the fact that this is a homer pick, and most homer picks are just reaches or risks or someone, and we'll get to some homer picks later. But this one's a match made in heaven. It's great value for where Alex got him. And unless you guys want to talk about another, I do have one more, which is adjacent to that pick.
I thought just one more quick reach. We don't want to talk about it for a long time, but I think with the news now that Mac Jones is under the center in New England, I think Damian Harris in the 9th round is a really good thing, because I think the big obstacle for Damian Harris being a top 20 running back was the fact that Cam Newton was going to run in so much. Now that Cam Newton's gone, Mac Jones is actually spreading the field for him. That's a great opportunity there. And I wish I had taken Damian Harris with that pick instead of Michael Carter.
It will be very interesting to see how the Mac Jones and Cam Newton news shakes up the Patriots in terms of their fantasy value. I think I have Jonnu. Did I grab Jonnu Smith? I'm pretty sure I did. Right the same round after Gesicki. As a tight end. I have no idea. I mean, Jonnu, he's a phenomenal talent, but I have no idea how this changes his value. There weren't a lot of shares of New England Patriots that were being drafted. Certainly not early. But it will be interesting to see how this shakes them up. Damian Harris is probably the most prominent name on that team from a fantasy perspective. So that's interesting. I also, so right next to Najee Harris, the pick before it, I think Zach nailed. Joe Mixon. Again, expert consensus on Fantasy Pros had him number 15 in standard scoring. My board, he was number 22. Zach got him at 31. Again, not a huge reach, but I love Joe Mixon falling to Zach on that turn. You know, he was averaging about 15 points a game in 6 games last year before going down to week 6. He's about 20 carries a game in that time. But the year before that, his full season before that in 2019, running back 13. Kid's 24. He's in his prime. And the fact that kept getting brought up about like owners who were worried about his injury because he had a season-ending injury in 2020 was, you know who he's played more games than? You know who he's started more games than and finished more games than? Dalvin Cook, who's going number 2. Like, he has a better injury history than Dalvin.
But Dalvin Cook's ceiling is way above what Joe Mixon's is.
I would agree with that, but I think Dalvin Cook hit his ceiling last season. Like, right? Like, that's why he's being drafted number 2. I think where you're paying down for a second round overall pick, or I guess in our case, a third round pick, James, or a third overall pick, for Dalvin Cook because of what he did last season. Joe Mixon, you're paying a, like, what running back is he off the board? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
was pick 31.
11. He's a 12th running back off the board. You're drafting him as an RB2. And granted, again, he was the 13th.
That's the thing. In this draft, though, with the Superflex, you're not drafting him as an RB2. That's his RB1. And I don't know if I buy Joe Mixon as a top 10 running back. I think that offensive line still got problems. I'm still not totally sold on Joe Burrow. I think that offense is still going to have trouble. And so that's what kind of changes. So he got him 31st overall. But when you consider that quarterbacks went so heavy right now, like, I think that was actually fair value for Mixon, not really a particularly good reach.
Yeah. So knowing that you're saying that about Joe Mixon there, how do you feel about my pick on Miles Sanders in the 5th?
It's not all about you, man.
I know it's not.
I love Miles Sanders.
No, like you're talking. I'm saying that, but you're talking about
Ruby. My puppy just joined the podcast here. Come here, Mama. Oh gosh, she's getting so big.
Like, I'm asking because if we're just looking at, like, oh well, 31st overall, he could be. I mean, James Robinson was a top 10 running back last year. Got him 8.
Yeah, and look, I got Chris Carson in the
like,
5th
I'm not
round
saying
as well,
it just for that, like, but I'm curious about how you felt about Miles Sanders. Because...
So Miles Sanders, I love, and I think here's the reason why. You want to go grab her? So Miles Sanders, the whole concern about Miles was she loves you. Yeah. Miles Sanders, the whole big concern about him was they brought in a bunch of running backs. They brought Jordan Howard back, I'm pretty sure. They brought like a bunch of guys into, like, you know, because, like, and again, it's this whole Philadelphia running back committee thing that people were worried about. Miles Sanders, I think they got rid of most of them, like the most running backs they brought in. Miles Sanders is the guy in Philly. Yeah. He's going to get touches, especially with Jalen Hurts at the quarterback position. I love Miles Sanders.
Offensive line's a little bit better.
Yeah, I love.
So
I'm not as big on Joe Mixon.
One more thing. In fantasy football, especially now more than ever, volume is king. Joe Mixon's going to get 20 carries a game. He's going to get volume, and here's the thing you got to remember too about Joe Mixon, right? Cincy, in their 6 games with him, they were clicking. You know who else they had that they don't have anymore? Giovanni Bernard taking carries from. They have no one else in the tank. Joe Mixon's the guy in Cincy. Who's their backup running back? Let's look it up. I mean, seriously.
Both teams have the same problem though. Their wide receiver core. I'm not buying into Jamar Chase yet. Both teams' wide receiver core. And actually, this applies more to Philly than it does Cincinnati. They got nobody on the
Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins.
No, that's Cincinnati, but Philly has got nobody catching the ball, and I think Jalen Hurts is also going to take a lot of the short line touchdown volume from Miles Sanders. It's a good it's fine value in the 5th round because he is the number 1 running back on a football team. But I don't know if I'm particularly impressed by that.
What I'm saying is, we know that Giovanni Bernard ate into some of Joe Mixon's value last season. We know that generally.
I think part of my issue with Joe Mixon too is that when he went down, Giovanni Bernard played better than Mixon did last year.
I like from a fantasy analysis, you can make that argument, but again, it's because there's literally no one else. Like that kind of proves my argument. It shows that it's the volume there. It's not the talent. Joe Mixon's 24. He's a phenomenal running back. It's the volume, right? If he's the only guy getting carries there, that's what's going to dictate the day, right? They're not going to throw the ball 50 times with Joe Burrow. This isn't like a West Coast offense. Josh. It's not Buffalo, right? Like it's not.
They did bring in Samaje Perine, which is the same kind of like.
Yeah, the guy who averaged
catching running back is Gio Bernard.
The guy who James can't even pronounce his name right.
Yeah.
Samaje Perine?
Samaje Perine. No, Mr. Urinrine averaged less than 4 points a game last year. I'm not worried about any backup running backs.
All right, let's move on to the next section.
The last one I had, because I got to toot my own horn a little bit. And this is the only time I'm going to do it this podcast. I'm not going to call myself top three, but I will call one pick a steal that I had. It's Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd round. What the fuck happened?
Naheem Hines is there.
Same thing.
They're talking about Jonathan Taylor's going to be more of a bell cow this year. His own coaches said that. And
yeah, you know who also said that?
I don't know.
Do you not remember the situation that I ran into where I didn't take Todd Gurley?
Why? No, I don't know.
This was, what year was this? This was the AC draft. I can't even remember who actually fucking drafted. Oh no, it was Spiller for Buffalo. We're gonna hand him the ball till he throws up, and then he was not even the
involved
leader of that committee.
Fair enough.
And also look,
a lot of people say they're gonna do things.
We just spent time talking about Joe Mixon. I would have taken Mixon, Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and David Montgomery over Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if you got a particularly great value there in the 3rd round, Sean. It's fine again, but
Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings number 10. I had number 13 on my board. He fell to 25. And the litmus test for why it was a good pick was because I waited a minute. I drafted him, and before I did, I overthought it for about a minute before drafting him. Your response was just hurry up and pick who you're going to pick because we all know who it is. It's Jonathan Taylor. It was obvious to everyone because I was thinking it's got to be some kind of trap. Did he get injured?
Yeah. He probably got pretty good value.
From week 13 on, he got 24 points per game last season. The playoffs, when you need your guy to be a stud. To get him he's my RB2.
Was Naheem Hines healthy at that point? I honestly,
because I had them both. They just started feeding. They started finally saying, "Hey, this kid's really good. We should give him the ball."
Just remember, he got his opportunity though because the running back in front of him went down with season-ending injury last year. So I don't know if the talent is really.
No, that's what we're talking about. Naheem Hines didn't go down for the season. I had him. Oh. Yeah, they just started finally feeding the rock to Jonathan Taylor. Again, if you're watching the chat and you know different, please let me know. But I don't believe that was the case.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Happy as my RB2. We'll move on.
So
any other steals?
Not a steal, just one little quick thing. You said that Cincinnati with Joe Mixon, they're not going to be throwing the ball 50 times a game. If you had to guess, how many attempts per game did Joe Burrow have last year? In the 10 games?
45.
I would say in the 10 games without Mixon?
No. He played 10 games total.
Oh, then he got injured for the year.
Yeah. How many attempts per game do you think he had?
30.
40.
Really?
Above 40 times per game.
But still, again, Joe Mixon did average literally, and I checked this, in the 6 games he was playing, 20 carries per game. I'd be curious how many he threw in the first 6 games of the year.
And Jerry, in all fairness, part of that was when Joe Mixon was out as well, so they didn't quite have a running back.
Well, he played 10 games. Joe Mixon played 6.
If my running back
he threw 400 passes in 10 games.
Well, I get it. I'm just saying, if my running back is getting 20 touches a game, 20 carries, I'm happy with that volume. Any other steals before we move on to reaches?
Let's go to reaches.
Let's do reaches.
Let's go to reaches.
Who wants to go first? I let him go first. So, Jerry Berry, you go first.
I need a second to look at the board.
Okay, James, you go first. I was wrong.
Let's see here. A reach.
James, you took too long.
I got one now.
All right, go.
I do have one now. I mean, maybe I'm way off base here, but I don't love Antonio Gibson there. There's Austin Eckler. There's Jonathan Taylor. There's Joe Mixon. There's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's James Robinson. Does anyone actually trust the Washington offense?
It's going to be better, but I kind of agree with you. I think I would have taken
I'm with
one
you.
wide receivers and probably Jonathan Taylor over Antonio Gibson because he's not going to be he's not a bell cow.
Yeah, I don't
love
know.
how James
I'm
shits
little
on my pick, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'll take." I would.
I mean, it's all
I'm
valued.
just
It's all
saying, like,
relative.
looking at Antonio
You know?
Gibson, there's like at least 4 running backs that I would have taken.
No, I would agree. I would say probably the right call there. Honestly, if I had that pick, I would pick Nuke. I love Arizona's upside, but like
I mean, if you need a running back in that spot,
if you need a running
It's
back,
like-
probably Jonathan Taylor or Joe Mixon. That's what I would have done.
I mean, obviously, you know who I would have done because on the very next pick, I took who I would have done.
Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. I do. I worry about Washington, but I do also think this with Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing the ball, it's not going to be a lot. Like he's not going to get like catches out of the backfield more or less. Fitzpatrick chucks the ball downfield,
Yeah.
so his value's gonna rely on carries in a half-point PPR league. So it's not ideal for Window. But I do love that he got James Robinson as his RB2. I think that's a great pick, generally speaking. Especially with Etienne's unfortunate injury. So,
Yeah.
James, did you have one yet? Or do you want me to go?
You can go ahead and go.
So, sticking on Window for a moment, not to harp on the lad, but picking a couple rounds later, Kyle Pitts in the early 5th.
It was a homer pick.
I get it's a hard pick, but he drafted him 42 overall. On expert consensus rankings, he was 72. My ranking, I had him a little higher because I loved the talent there. I wanted Miami to get him. Obviously, they traded back like idiots and they didn't get him, but they got Jalen Waddle, so we're kind of okay. But I had him 64. Drafted at 42 overall, Kyle Pitts.
And also, like, at the same time that he took Pitts, you still had Andrews, you still had T.J. Hawkinson, right?
Look at the talent that's in the rest of
Gesicki,
that
there's a
round.
lot of other good tight ends there. Logan
CeeDee
Thomas,
Lamb,
Logan.
Robert Woods. These are guys with huge value that fell, and instead he grabbed. And I don't have a problem grabbing a tight end, but like, I think he could have waited. I think he could have waited till the end of,
I think he could have gotten him in the 7th round.
or at
Like,
least
I
the
think so
end of
too.
the 6th. Yeah, and that's my problem. Is like, look,
I think he could have gotten him in the 8th round.
Don't get me wrong. I drafted 4 Dolphins this year, and every time I said I want my guy. But there's a difference between drafting 4 Dolphins in the 10th round or later versus the very early 5th. You can't afford to miss with your first 7 to 8 picks. And even though I love Kyle Pitts as an athlete, there's a graphic I want to show you really quick. And James, you won't be able to see this, but I'll show it to the folks at home. This right here is the top 5 tight ends in NFL history in terms of their rookie fantasy seasons. Brad Putman. I wouldn't do that there. I can't see where there is. Well, I guess we weren't specific. If you can remember what we were talking about, Brad, let us know. But I hope, Brad,
Just tell him what it shows.
follow along with the graphics. Anyway, James, you're not on this camera. Whatever. I'll fix it later. So the graph shows the top 5 tight ends in NFL history in their rookie fantasy seasons. The top 5 rookie fantasy seasons in NFL history, and the points they scored at the end of the year, like total fantasy points, that year, were ranged from 119.5 to 141.6. They were Aaron Hernandez, John Carlson, Rob Gronkowski, Jeremy Shockey, and Evan Engram. The bottom line here is that's 120 to 140 points. Do you know who else was in that range last year? T.J. Hawkinson. Mark Andrews from Baltimore. How about Logan Thomas? Mike Gesicki. Gronk. Hayden Hurst was in that list.
Yeah.
With about 5 more guys who were within 5 points of that range. Some of the high hype players, Vernon Davis, T.J. Hawkinson, Eric Ebron, in their first seasons at tight end, got only 43 to 64 points in their rookie campaign. Yes, this move has upside, but it is a huge risk Window took, and I do not love it. And now I'll bring James back and put the draft board back.
I was looking for the pick in the first few rounds that struck me as odd, and I forgot what it was. And I think you reminded me. I think it was Kyle Pitts, and so I'm actually going to double down on your pick. I think that was a big time reach.
It just felt like a reach. And don't get me wrong, there are other reaches that
It was a reach.
There are other reaches I had. Like I reached for Laviska Shenault. He was ECR 150. I had him at 104 on my list. I still got him at 85. As the 3rd wide receiver in Jacksonville. But he did
I think Javonte Williams in round 7. I think that was a little bit of a reach by one of Or 2 spices.
Poor Window, man. He's getting it rough on this podcast.
And he is. Sorry, man.
We need.
I just want to see the stream.
Okay. So let's, and then also there was one more that I'll just throw an aside on. Tom Brady for McMillan. He was picked 26 overall.
I think Brady's actually a good pick. I think Brady's going to eat this year.
I get it. Like, every year we say this is the year Tom Brady falls off the board. I get it. 7 quarterbacks are already off the board. Like, you don't have one yet if you're... I wouldn't have a problem with that pick at 26 if it's not for the next guy off the board.
So they got 3 premier...
Who's the next guy off the board?
And then they added Giovanni Bernard, which is the perfect type of guy that Tom Brady loves to dump off to. And Giovanni Bernard goes for a 20-yard run, dump off pass.
But I mean, to say, they added Giovanni Bernard. They have Ronald Jones.
They have Leonard Fournette.
Listen. Ronald Jones' hands are like this.
I just don't want to hear, they added talent. They'd have more than they want to do with.
I get... Look. I get that Tampa Bay has some of the best offensive weapons in the league. Not doubting that, right?
Probably the best.
And I also get, again, McMillan's logic of, I don't want to wait until the 10th round to draft a quarterback. I don't think the wait until the 10th round is going to work out for either of our 2 case studies on the issue in our first season of Superflex. And I'll admit, Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's my division rival for the longest time, but he's the greatest of all time. But we've seen some of the best quarterbacks of all time who had great seasons towards the end of their careers, followed by an absolute dismal statistical season and an inability to throw the ball. A case in point, Peyton Manning in Denver. He was a year before he went, like the year before his Super Bowl win in Denver, he looked great. The year after that, the Broncos had to carry his water pistol arm to the Super Bowl.
And eventually that will happen to Tom Brady. I just don't think it's this year.
He's 44. Peyton Manning and Brett Favre were 40. Peyton Manning was 41. Brett Favre was...
The rules of age don't work on Tom Brady because quarterbacks aren't supposed to last past 40, period.
Brett Favre, another example, had a great season and led the Vikings to the NFC Championship. 1 year later, had a horrible statistical year. And here's the last point, and this is minor, but do you know how many QB1s last year didn't rush for more than 200 yards? Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Mobile quarterbacks are the meta now more than ever. You had a young one last season who had one of the best rookie QB seasons of all time available to you.
Which, if anything, I think that stat actually speaks to the longevity of Rodgers and Brady, because I think the running ability of a quarterback declines a lot faster than throwing.
It doesn't take away the point that you passed on a sophomore quarterback who had one of the best rookie seasons of all time for a 44-year-old who still averaged less points per game per season.
What's the saying they talk about, players who had really good rookie years and then not so good their sophomore year?
Lamar Jackson.
No, that's not it.
What?
No, Tua is not going to have a slump. I mean, he didn't have a good rookie year. No,
Sean, what's the next category?
To the point that you're making, though, obviously Justin Herbert goes on the very next pick. Then there's 21 picks without a quarterback.
Right.
I think that he could have gotten Tom Brady later than he did.
Sure. But I don't hate his later picks of David Montgomery.
No, but you're making the point that he did it too early, right?
I'm
agreeing with you. I think he could have gotten him in the 4th. Who knows? He could have gotten him in the 5th.
Or just pick Justin Herbert. I hate passing on Herbert for Brady. I just hate that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have gotten him down there. I would have taken Tom Brady if he was available to me in the 4th round.
Let's do our top 3, bottom 3, because James has about 15 minutes before he has to go.
I can push it to 650, but I really got to go then.
Okay, let's do top 3. James, hit me with one of them.
All right. Top 3 teams. I think Alex. Man, his team is stacked.
He's one of my 3 too.
Yeah, I mean, Wilson and Stafford. Stafford's going to be a totally fine super flex. He's got 2 premier running backs that could in a one.
Let's calm down on 2 premier. He has 1.
Yeah.
Look, I could see Najee Harris. I could see Najee finishing as number 1. I could see a world that happens. Justin Jefferson.
It's a little early.
I think he's only weak at wide receiver because I don't buy Robbie Anderson or Kenny Galladay. or and deep. I don't, so he's going to be a little weak.
After Jefferson, his wide receivers get a little weak. I think you guys are a little overvaluing Najee Harris right now.
But no, I said I'm high on the kid, and like I talked about the reason I liked him. But here's the reason why I agree with you, James. Obviously, when we evaluate our top 3, bottom 3, we're not going to be able to say with certainty which late round sleepers are going to hit, right? There's no way you can predict that. So a lot hinges on the first half of your draft. The first 8 rounds are how we decide which teams nailed it and which teams fell short. When you look at Alex's first 7 picks, in my opinion, they just make sense. Zeke falling to 9 when the top 4 quarterbacks are gone, Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Jackson. You don't pick a quarterback there because the tier 1 and the tier 1 are gone, and Lamar Jackson on that borderline, he's gone. So it makes sense to go Zeke at 9. I like Wilson. Every year when we say, even though it's at what, 12, every year we say this is the year they're going to let Russ cook. Maybe it'll happen this year.
They let him cook at the beginning of the year.
That's what I'm saying. And again, there's a significant drop off after the top 8 quarterbacks, in my opinion. That's like tier 2, in my opinion. So like, I get your guy. I love Justin Jefferson and Najee Harris. We talked about why. I think they both have high floors, huge upside. Not as crazy about Josh Jacobs and Matt Stafford at 5 and 6. I would have probably gone.
I hate Josh Jacobs.
I would have gone Gus Edwards is available, and also even Daryl Henderson's available. Like I would have gone with one of those guys. But like I get it. He's the only area that I think Alex is weak in is tight end. Tanyan is due for regression. He had a great season last year, but he's due to regress. But overall, top to bottom, he has a strong lineup. If you're weak at tight end, most people are if you don't have Kelsey, Kittle, or Darren Waller. So, like, I think he's had a great lineup. I really do. I agree with you.
I was much lower on his running backs.
Is he in your top 3?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I will also say I haven't had a ton of time to look at it, so I'm not really sure who my top any would be. But I don't know. So Zeke is just, he's gotten worse every year. Since
this you know what this is? This is buyer's remorse talking.
I mean, a little bit. no, like he looked okay at the start of last year. Dak went down, and it's like, I saw it.
Okay.
Like Dak went down, and it was like Ezekiel Elliott forgot how to break a tackle. It's like he just couldn't do anything.
The boxes were stacked against him.
No, even I could understand that, but in the games that he missed, Tony Pollard fucking produced. Like Zeke seemed like a problem last year.
I think
I'm not bad on him. Josh Jacobs,
I think it's going to help a lot.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs was the I'm pretty sure his points per touch last year was like the worst running back in the NFL.
Yeah,
it was all volume.
Well, and interestingly,
and he's not going to get all the carries this year.
Well, you saw who they brought in, right? Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's not getting any passing down work. Again, I want to see Najee Harris play. I haven't seen him play in preseason.
It's his third running back though. Like I'm more forgiving when the starter for a team is his flex. Like
sure, but I'm also not big on Zeke and Najee Harris. Again, I'd like to see him actually play in the NFL before I'm going to say he could finish as the number 1. Because don't get me wrong, he had a good year last year. You know, when you have the number 15 pick, two other first round wide receivers in the best offensive line in college football.
Like,
yeah,
I hate Bama, but he looked great on.
And I'm sure he did. But like, I'd like to see him actually do it first.
Do you have a team that comes to mind? Or you want me to do one of mine? James just named one of my 3.
You go ahead. I'm gonna take a look.
So I'll start with who I think is the team to beat. If I had to pick one team, if I had to pick a number 1, this is the guy that I think is the best team in the league right now. And I will preface this by saying I give this person a lot of shit, and rightfully so. This person has the lowest all-time win percentage in league history. That's right, below Taylor Horn, may he rest in peace, below Jason McMillan, below anyone who's ever played in this league in 13 seasons. He has a win percentage overall of 37.5. He's made the playoffs twice in 6 years. He's never been to the championship game. And he's probably the only person still watching the stream right now. But I think that Brad is set up for his first real title run. I got you, Brad, and I'm going to tell you why. Lamar Jackson, like I said earlier, right on the borderline between the Tier 1 QBs and Tier 2 QBs. It was the right time to snatch Lamar. I get it. If you don't, he's not coming back to you on that turn. There's no way. We saw 2 more QBs went before Brad's next pick. Get your guy. You got value there. His running backs, Aaron Jones, CEH, Gus Edwards. A solid running back 1, running back 2, and flex respectively. DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, solid RB1, or solid wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Higbee is the late tight end that I wanted that he fucking took. Yeah. And he's super flexing
And Dallas Goedert would be fine for that as well.
Sure, but he's super flexing with Trevor Lawrence, who I think could easily be. It's not, even though he's a rookie quarterback, this is the guy that everyone's saying is like the most NFL ready rookie quarterback we've ever seen. Like, people are talking about Trey Lance, people are talking about Justin Fields. This is the kid that when they were drafting quarterbacks, he went 1 overall for a reason.
And didn't Andrew Luck, when he first started, he put up respectable fantasy numbers his first season in the NFL, and Trevor Lawrence is about as close to Andrew Luck as we've seen.
Exactly. So I think I was able to find a weakness in almost every team's starting lineup in the league. I really can't see that in Brad's starters. His bench looks weak, don't get me wrong, but his starting lineup is one of the best in the league in my opinion. So I had him number 1 overall.
He was my number 2 behind Alex.
Brad hates his friends because of that. Thanks, Brad.
So I will agree that, I mean, kind of for like the exact opposite reason of what you just said, but like I like his team because like, no, he actually has people all the way down that like actually can hit. Like, I mean, you said like, oh, his bench is bad. Kareem Hunt, terrible bench player.
All right,
I mean,
fair enough.
AJ Dillon is actually, I don't know if it was a little bit of a reach there, but like obviously a good handcuff to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones can be up and down with the injury. Will Fuller was one of the top wide receivers last year, and somehow he falls to the 11th round.
Will Fuller was one of the top wide receivers with Deshaun Watson throwing the ball, and Miami is a different offense.
It is.
They are big on, like, Tua is big on spreading the ball around. Honestly,
but as your 4th wide receiver?
I don't hate it. Again, I don't hate it.
I don't hate him in the 11th.
No.
I didn't love his Dallas Goedert pick in the 13th.
I do like Michael Gallup in the 14th.
Michael Gallup in the 14th is great.
Yeah. Although he did draft
Cam Newton.
Sucks.
Yeah, he needs to get rid of that.
Let's calm down on the Cam Newton thing.
Yeah, he might play for. Do you get fantasy points for the Calgary Stampeders? Like,
who knows where he's gonna land? That is the big question. Right
CFL.
Now. Man, maybe.
All right. So Jerry,
I honestly think like up and down, Brad's roster actually looks pretty solid.
Yeah. Who do you have?
Who do you have, Jerry?
I said I need a minute, and then I started talking about yours.
James, go. Start looking for
yours. So those are actually my 1 and 2. My number 3, God, I hate this. It's gonna blow your fucking ego up. Jerry, I think you're number 3.
Don't do it.
I know.
Because it's kind of a gamble on your quarterback position.
Absolutely.
You're going to be outmatched every matchup in quarterback 1 and your Superflex. Period. Now the thing is, the rest of your lineup is so strong that I think you might just overcome it. But I guess that's kind of you're the big question mark as far as a team goes with the new format this year.
Yeah.
Because
so I will say, this is a year of all years. I feel like trades are actually going to be like much more frequent.
Well, we've been trading with increasing efficiency or frequency every season.
Yes,
in the last,
but I think with this in particular,
I would agree.
Like with the Superflex, I think it adds a lot to that, especially when we hit one of those bye weeks where there's 6 teams on bye.
Yeah,
I'm still here. I'm just grabbing my shoes.
You're fine.
That might be. I was kind of thinking what James was saying. Like, I don't want to like throw myself in there yet because I honestly we'll see what happens between now and the first game because I'm going to be looking to make a move for a quarterback. But like, how is Juju my 6th wide receiver?
Because you didn't draft a quarterback, and I'm going to get to that.
But I'm just saying though, like that's kind of crazy, right?
Well, Juju's actually not the pick that I thought was.
He's a top 20. He's
my
6th.
I also don't. If I'm picking one guy in Pittsburgh this year at the wide receiver position, it's not Juju.
It's Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's
my 6th.
Well, I'm going to talk about Jerry a little more later. I do agree that at running back and wide receiver, he and Daryl are going to be the strongest in the league, and for good reason. They didn't draft any quarterbacks until the 10th round, so they were getting elite wide receivers and running backs while we were all scrambling to get quarterbacks.
The reason I picked Jerry instead of Daryl is because I think the late round quarterbacks that he did get, Roethlisberger, and on any given day, Roethlisberger could put up top 5 numbers. And Bridgewater's going to get some volume. He's not reliant. Like, I think he's a lot better of a late-round quarterback than I think Daryl got in Zach Wilson.
I disagree. I will tell you that I think Big Ben's the best of the 6, but I'll also tell you that. Do you mean to pull up the draft board for you over there? Or what do you need?
No, I'm just looking.
Okay. I will tell you that again, and we can use last season's statistics all we want, but again, Big Ben is getting older. And I do like Pittsburgh's offense. I like Deontay Johnson this year. I like Big Ben generally. And I like Big Ben as your selection there, right? Here's my... Well, I'll talk more about my problem with Jerry's team later. I'll save that for the next segment.
Wait, spoiler alert, are you saying you need the bottom 3? Is that what's happening?
I don't know how you could possibly do that. I have 2 guys who still fall into the top 20 at quarterback last year, while also having, my opinion, the best stable of wide receivers and running backs.
We will get there.
All right, so Jerry, who do you have?
Do you have another? So you had Brad. It sounded like you were agreeing with us on Brad.
Yeah, I can agree with Brad in there. Like I said, his roster top to bottom, like there's just some consistency.
Do we need to do my last one and see if you agree? Maybe it'll.
Sure, go ahead.
Apparently, I just like all the teams that drafted at the end of round 1. I like Zach. Again, I look to the starting line. Dak, if he's healthy, can have an absolute beastly season. You can easily see him being top 5. I told you all the reasons I like Mixon with his volume. Gaskin is his weakest starter, who's, I guess, kind of fine as an RB2. I don't know that he'll be the guy at the season's end. I think Miami tended to have like a rotation last year. Salvin Ahmed looked good when Gaskin was injured. I don't know what they'll do. But wide receivers. Devontae Adams, best receiver in the game. Mike Evans and OBJ, not crazy about either. He did stash Michael Thomas. Who knows? His Superflex is Jalen Hurts. Great upside. You know,
great upside, but also could be shit as well.
No, his floor is high enough to be a QB1.
With his 5th round pick, I don't know.
His floor is high enough to be a QB1. I like Jalen Hurts this year.
His floor is a QB1? Oh, I disagree with that. I think it's a hot take.
Jalen Hurts?
His
floor is a QB1?
I would say so.
No.
Like bottom of QB1, like QB10, but like, yeah, QB1.
That's his floor. So you're saying bare minimum, he is QB10?
Yeah.
Like, bet? Like,
sure.
You want to make a bet on, like bare minimum, he has to finish QB1?
Sorry about that.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think he was
okay. I think he was
overdrafted.
Is a little strong. Maybe like the top 12 though, right? Like, there's no way Jalen Hurts doesn't finish as like a top 12 or 14 quarterback. And I don't hate where he got him. Like, I think he is a relatively safe low end QB1, high end QB2. Like, I think that's probably where maybe I exaggerated his floor a little bit. His floor is like top 15 at worst, but the upside is there for top 8, right? Like, it's fine where he got him. I like Jalen Hurts this year. I like his rushing potential. Darren Waller's Zach's tight end, by the way, who was an absolute monster, especially towards the end of last season. I think all teams are fairly close and balanced. I think that's one of the reasons why this was a very hard exercise, picking the top 3.
Yeah.
It's sign of a good draft in a good league. But I'd give Zach a slight edge over the rest of the pack in terms of the top 3, bottom 3 analysis. Anyone else you want to call attention to for good drafts before we go into the bad ones?
I mean, I know someone's already kind of mentioned Daryl. Kind of the same type of thing, like top 2 running backs.
Kamara and Barkley.
That's what I'm saying. It's tough to kind of get better than that.
And his
he still got one of the top tight ends.
He got George Kittle, and his wide receivers are Ridley, CD, Ayuk, and Jerry Jeudy, guys who I love his receiving core.
But again, his the super flexing quarterback.
Well, listen,
huge amount of points.
Let me get to bottom 3, and I'll talk about that. I'll talk about both Jerry and Daryl. Spoiler alert.
So Jerry, you don't like any other team?
We should have waited an extra week to do this because there's going to be moves before the start of the season.
Well, we got to get the podcast out. Week 1 of the NFL is coming.
Yeah, and this is a post-draft podcast. So Jerry, any of the top 3 teams?
I think he talked about Brad. He talked about Daryl.
Right.
Well, we can move to bottom 3.
Like I said, I didn't get to do enough looking at it all to.
Let me talk about my friends Daryl and Jerry. I will be frank. I agree that they had the best running backs and wide receivers in the league, and it's like in terms of a team, and it's not close. Like, absolutely best wide receivers, best running backs, because they didn't draft quarterbacks and everyone was rushing to get quarterbacks. I do think that waiting till round 10 to get your first quarterback misses the plot of the Superflex. I think it misses the point. Like, I think that was waiting too long. I don't think this is the year more than any other where you couldn't afford to wait on a quarterback. And I get not like okay. So you were saying the whole time I don't want to reach for a quarterback.
I couldn't reach 20 picks.
Yeah, but hold on. Here's where if I could disagree. Here's where I think you could have. Here's the pick I think that I would have made in your shoes if you're going this strategy, right?
I know where you're going with it.
It's the 6-7 turn. You have your third wide, and I don't even hate the Julio pick. Julio falling to you at, what is that, 60, right? Like,
I mean, the overall number is kind of irrelevant. Like, if you're basing it off of a normal draft, oh my God, you got him in the 6th round. How did you even do that? Like, it's much more about, like, what number wide receiver was he than the actual overall number this year.
Sure, but what I'm saying is this.
And it was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I got him as the 15th.
Yeah, like I know I love the pick, and I loved your first 6 picks. CMC's a no-brainer. Eckler's good. Nuke is exactly the right call there. I'm fine with Allen at 40. I like Sanders a lot at 41, and you get to the 6-7 turn. I'm even fine with Julio there. But Trevor Lawrence is on the board. My Superflex rankings had him at 53. This is your chance to get him and whichever receiver you like more out of Jones or Lockett. And instead, you grab both these wide receivers. One of them is going to be on your bench in all likelihood.
I think that was a mistake as well.
And that's the reason why you're starting either Teddy Bridgewater or Mac Jones right now. Maybe Big Ben doesn't have to mitigate the quarterback superflex weakness there. Maybe TJ Hawkinson is enough of a step up on the lower tier tight ends to consistently make up some points. Maybe
lower tier tight ends?
Like TJ Hawkinson.
Hawkinson's going to be fine, but the
is a mid-range tight end. And I'm saying
number 4 overall last year.
Okay, maybe he's enough of a step up for you from the rest of the tight end pack to make up some of that quarterback and superflex weakness. Maybe the running backs and wide receivers carry you through, but like I said, I think you lost the plot. And I'll say the same. Since we're in the interest of time, I'll speed it up. I'll say the same about Daryls' team, right? Like, again, love the running backs. I told you why I love the wide receivers. I love George Kittle. I love George Kittle in the 4th round. But when you wait till the 10th round to get your quarterback, instead of you don't need Raheem Mostert and Damian Harris at that point. You have Alvin Kamara and Saquon. If they go down, you're fucked anyway.
He should have taken a quarterback at the 6th or 7th turn because
Baker's on the board right there.
Judy.
2 picks later by window, and even if you don't believe in him, there's 6 more quarterbacks who went later on. Daryl was picking at the beginning of that and got Jameis, but like Kirk Cousins could have been available to him instead of Damian Harris. And you said you like Damian Harris, but like, get your quarterback in, man. Like, you don't. I'm all for getting your best starting lineup of running backs and wide receivers, but once you're getting bench players, unless you really believe in this guy, get your fucking quarterback. Make your starting line as best as it can be.
I mean, maybe I'm just. I'd love to be wrong. Absolutely love it, but I'm not nearly as high on Trevor Lawrence as a lot of people are. Best player coming out of college I think I've ever seen. Better than John Elway, better than Andrew Luck, better than Peyton Manning. We have the worst offensive line in football.
Yeah.
We lost Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
And I know you're a little bit bigger on some of the Jacksonville wide receivers, but I'm not super high on any of them. DJ Shark apparently is just pissed off Urban Meyer's not going to play. Like,
really?
I'm not as high on Trevor Lawrence as everyone else. And honestly, I thought he'd be there at the end of the 8th round. And if he was there at the end of the 8th round, I would have taken him. But I wasn't ready to reach 20, in my opinion, what was going to be 20 picks. And that's kind of what, there was like 5 separate times where it's like, I'm going to take this oh, nope. He went ahead of me. Okay, well, the next one I would take isn't for another couple of rounds.
At a certain point,
was the
gotta,
first one that came available like that.
Yeah. So I've said 2 of my top 3. I'll take a back seat for a while. I'm sure someone's gonna have me in their bottom 3.
No, I've got Jason Smith in my bottom 3.
That's exactly who I was gonna say.
Oh,
yeah. Look, Kyler Murray and Herbert are great. So he's like the opposite of you. Jerry.
Yeah. He just has like no running back depth.
He's amazing quarterback. He's got like DeAndre Swift. I don't buy that as a number 1 running back in Detroit. No. And then after that, Mike Davis, same issue. Like I don't see that. And look, Tyreek Hill is a good pick. And again, both quarterbacks are great. McLaurin, I don't know. And then after that, Brandon Cooks is
what do you think of Chase Edwards?
Chase Edmonds?
he called him Chase Edwards at the draft.
Yeah.
Like his running backs scare me.
Yeah, I
but,
agree.
You know, he's kind of resting on the opposite of you, is that his quarterbacks in the Superflex are going to carry him to being par, and that's that.
There's a reason why I drafted Jamal Williams, because I don't trust DeAndre Swift. I really don't trust him. So,
I mean, I'm not usually high on saying like, "Hey, you know that guy from Detroit? That's who I'm going to rely on."
Joey Harrington, really good quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jason's bottom three for one of you guys. Either you guys have a second one for him, or you want me to give my third?
I think my second probably would be window as well. Again, Patrick Mahomes is great, but Gibson, I don't quite buy. DJ Moore is the number 2 wide receiver. It's the same analysis. Like these are, but my basis of that is just players that I don't particularly like. His team's constructed well, just with people that I wouldn't have chosen myself. And I don't have high hopes for this year.
And this is another one of those things where, like, I know you're mad that I hadn't even had my first quarterback yet, but he drafted his third quarterback in the 10th round. Who is a backup.
I agree. I do agree with that.
Maybe later in the year it's going to pay off for him. But are you actually really going to start him over? Well, you're obviously not starting him over Patrick Mahomes. Do you really think you're going to start him over Baker Mayfield?
Well, I did the same thing with Justin Fields, and my intention is that once he goes off, I'm going to trade him to you for a great running back.
I will say I am big on Trey Lance. I don't necessarily hate that as much, but like I will say that like I think he missed on a couple picks he needed to nail in the first couple rounds. I don't get Antonio Gibson. I don't get Kyle Pitts at all. Even DJ Moore, when Julio's on the board, like I don't get Javonte Williams. Maybe he's the best running back there.
But again, at best, he's splitting time with Melvin Gordon.
Right. Like,
and is he actually so much better than Melvin Gordon that he's going?
Like, I would have gotten
3
Myles
rounds
Gaskin.
ahead of Melvin Gordon.
I would have gotten Myles Gaskin there if you really want to reach for a running back. There was a lot I didn't like about Windows Draft. I didn't have him about my bottom 3, but he probably wasn't too far off. I don't know if he was in your bottom 3.
I don't really have it as I'm just kind of looking at it as I go. But he. Don't love his teams. Again, we already talked about the reach in the 5th round.
Give me your last team before you go.
Well, I think, honestly, too, the rest are all just kind of, Daryl, probably, for the same reason we talked about earlier. I think I like your team, Jerry, and your picks better than Daryl's. Like, I think Alvin Kamara is going to be not good without Drew Brees. I think you have the same idea, and the negative parts of your construction apply equally to Daryl, except his quarterbacks are worse, and his starting players that he got a benefit from at the beginning are also worse.
So you heading off, James?
Yeah, I gotta go. I want to know. I just want to know if I made the bottom 3 on any of you guys.
No, my last team for the bottom 3 was McMillan, and I'll get into why after you're gone.
All right. Adios, guys.
Later, buddy.
All right. Yeah.
So I'm gonna just take him off.
Okay.
And then, oops.
So, I guess if I'm throwing in my third here. So, a little while ago, you said the best wide receiver in the game. Were you talking about from a fantasy perspective, or were you talking about, like, the best wide receiver in the NFL when you're talking about Davante Adams?
Oh, like, best fantasy wide receiver.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Like, that I'm much more okay with, because I thought that was...
No. The best,
pretty,
best wide receiver in the game, who would you pick?
I mean... I don't know if I'd have someone definitive, like obviously Nuke, obviously Tyreek Hill.
Nuke and Tyreek Hill would be.
Davante Adams is obviously in the conversation.
Sure.
But you just like very definitively said the best in the game.
No, I meant like best fantasy from a wide receiver fantasy perspective.
I do think that he obviously Davante Adams had an amazing year. Aaron Rodgers had an MVP level year.
Absolutely.
I feel like there's gonna be a little bit of regression.
Sure.
And he was 14 points ahead of Tyreek Hill. I feel like Davante Adams just about as good of a year as you could have.
He hit his ceiling.
Yeah.
So Zach in your bottom 3?
I think that I am putting... I don't need to hear James anymore, so I can take that out. I think that I have, Zach in my bottom 3. So I just don't love... I mean, obviously, it doesn't really matter if it's the end of the first or the beginning of the second for Davante Adams. But, like, I don't love Davante Adams as the first pick. I don't know. The fact that 12 picks later I got Hopkins... The fact that I don't know. Let me look at. There's still Terry McLaurin. There's still Allen Robinson. There's still Keenan Allen. I don't know. I guess I feel like I would have rather had a running back in that spot because, again, I know you're a lot higher on Joe Mixon than I am.
Yeah.
Don't love Joe Mixon. Don't love that Myles Gaskin is your second option.
Well, I think here's where he could have saved his, like he could have had a better draft, right? Hear me out on this one, right? How would you feel?
You want to take these off?
Oh yeah. Sorry. Well, that
way, because I'm like hearing the echo.
What am I doing? Better now?
Yeah, but I can still hear it.
Where's it coming from? Is it coming from your phone?
I think so.
There we go.
All right.
Technical difficulties. Or your AirPods.
Keep it coming from the AirPods. I'm just gonna end the call on this.
That sounds good. Actually, I can close it. Yeah, I'll end it on my end too.
Okay.
So,
gotta love that we're just working out the technical difficulties live on the air.
Hey, listen, the overlay makes up for the professionalism here. So like, what would you think about this team for Zach? I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Go Dak and Russell Wilson in the first 2 picks. Go double quarterback, right? Then
I think I'd just rather have a running back.
Well, hold on. Next round, Darren Waller, Joe Mixon. I know you're not big on him. I like Joe Mixon in my RB1. And then the very next turn, you can get Gus Edwards and Daryl. Now, obviously, you wouldn't know this, but you can Gus Edwards, Daryl Henderson.
I'm also not huge on Daryl Henderson. So
see, I'm big on him this year.
I don't know. I think Sony Michel's going to eat into his
carries. Don't. Sony Michel didn't do anything in New England. And Daryl Henderson...
Tell me the last time a running back did anything in New England.
Fair enough, but I just don't. I'm not sold on Sony Michel being the guy. Like
I'm not saying he necessarily will be the guy. I'm just saying I don't think I'm like Daryl Henderson couldn't win the job over Cam Akers.
Sorry, I'm just chatting to Brad.
But that's kind of my thing. Is I think that Sony Michel could eat into some of Daryl Henderson. Kind of off the topic there that we're talking about Zach's team. But yeah, I don't know. I don't love it. I obviously Kelsey, or no, not Kelsey. What was his tight end situation last year? Did he have Kelsey?
Zach.
Yeah,
I think he
had Kelsey. I feel like he felt like he needed to get a tight end early. And don't get me wrong, Darren Waller is
a stud.
He's a stud.
Absolute stud.
He is.
Kid was a monster.
He was the number 2.
Look at his games
he was
week
the number
13 on last year. I think he was the high. I think. Don't quote me on this yet. I think he was the highest scoring fantasy player at any position from weeks 13 on last year.
It's tough. There's 11 and 13, but obviously when you have a 38-point game against the Jets, that's going to help.
But then 25 in the semifinals.
Again, against a bad Chargers defense. No, obviously, no. Like he hit when you want him to hit. Obviously, Darren Waller is one of the top 2-3 tight ends. Like I'm not arguing that. I don't know how I feel. Again, doesn't matter if it's the 3rd or the 4th round. Not really. He's probably not there when it comes back to him on the 5-6 turn.
Right.
I don't know.
It's tough.
I don't love the running backs. And who's his second quarterback? Jalen. Again, I'm just not huge on Jalen Hurts either. Obviously, his running ability keeps his floor relatively high.
That's why.
I don't know. Like you said, floor being. Honestly, like I'd expect him to probably finish 15th.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm saying that's his floor.
Yeah,
but he has. I think he has. His rushing potential gives him upside because if he gets rushing touchdowns, that all of us like rushing touchdowns are so huge for quarterbacks.
But now let me throw this out there really quick. Do you think what percentage chance do you think
he finishes the year
healthy? No, that's not what I was gonna say.
Because that's a risk.
What are the odds Gardner Minshew takes his job?
Gardner
Minshew was arguably the best backup in the league in Jacksonville until they traded him. You know how pissed off I am that they traded him away for like 3 footballs? Like I'm so fucked. Like
the Wes Welker trade.
Everyone knew Trevor Lawrence was going to start, and my thought is like, okay, we're going to have a solid backup in case Trevor Lawrence gets hurt. Which let's be real, we have one of the worst offensive lines in football. That's entirely possible.
Sure.
Or hey, let's go get an offensive lineman. There are teams that need a quarterback. Let's go actually get something. A conditional 6th round pick.
Yeah.
I'm furious.
No, I get it. It's bad move from Jacksonville.
Oh my God, it made me so mad. It wouldn't surprise me though if Jalen Hurts struggles. Gardner and Minshew can play.
If Jalen Hurts struggles, like if he's throwing if he's having Jameis Winston in Tampa Bay performances, sure, there is a chance.
I don't think he has the downfield throwing ability to keep up with the. Got to remember when he threw 30 interceptions, he threw for 5,000 yards. I don't think Jalen Hurts has a 5,000 yard season in him.
No, but I think he's going to be a more effective rusher than Jameis Winston was. I think he's got more athletic ability. I think honestly the risk for Jalen Hurts isn't that he doesn't or that he gets benched, it's that he gets injured because we've seen it with mobile quarterbacks where Robert Griffin, One bad injury can end your career, right?
Yeah.
Or end your effectiveness. And you can't plan for that. But I like Jalen Hurts as a pick this year. My third bottom 3 team this year, and I hate to keep ragging on this guy because I want him to succeed. Well, I don't, but a part of me wants him to succeed at some point because he struggles with it. Is McMillan. And it's because for the reason I talked about Tom Brady before, but his Superflex is Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan with less offensive weapons. He doesn't have Julio anymore. What's their running back situation? Who's their running back again?
Yeah, don't love the quarterbacks.
You look at his lineup. Look top to bottom of his lineup. You're big on Adam Thielen. I'm less big on Adam Thielen.
I like getting Adam Thielen where he got him.
There's no more polarizing figure in fantasy football right now than David Montgomery.
I'm not big on David Montgomery.
Some people love him. Some people hate him. I'm actually bigger on him than I think you are. But I just don't love his lineup. And it's the core. Honestly, the 3 teams that I selected as bottom 3 are all teams that are the weakest at the quarterback position in the league, in my opinion. And I think with Superflex, it is so hard to make that up. His backup is Derek Carr. You know who is more likely to lose their job if they struggle than Jalen Hurts? Derek Carr.
Who's he going to lose the job to?
Who knows? But John Gruden.
I gotta have a name that you're not gonna bench him for a nobody. Derek Carr can play.
John, you telling me you can't see John Gruden all of a sudden saying, "Look, man, I need more out of my quarterback position." Hold on.
You've been on it 4 times, and you keep.
The problem was I was looking for Oakland.
Oh, Marcus Mariota's the backup there now.
Yeah, couldn't you see John Gruden being like, "Look, Carr, you're not giving me anything. I'm bringing in Marcus Mariota. Now here's a guy I love, 6'5", 220, engine like a train. I love this kid." That was a bad John Gruden impression, but you understand.
I get what you're saying. He was still quarterback 13 last year.
I like Derek Carr, kind of. I like him as a player. I'm not a big Gruden guy. I think Gruden's one of the worst coaches in the league.
I mean, he was good. In 2000,
that's a great coach.
In 2001. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if we're talking about if the reason that you didn't like Jalen Hurts is because there's you brought up what are the chances that he gets benched for Gardner Minshew? I think
it's more likely Jalen Hurts gets benched for Gardner Minshew than Derek Carr because I think Marcus Mariota can't play.
I agree with you that Marcus Mariota can't play. But I don't think that's going to stop.
But I'm agreeing. I'm in agreement with you, not because Derek Carr is his third.
Derek Carr's his third.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan's his second. Tom Brady's his first.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, I'm not super high on. No, his quarterbacks, obviously, I'm not super high on. His running backs outside of Derrick Henry, I'm not super high on. And again, this is a half-point PPR. Derrick Henry, if he's going to go for 2,000 yards every year, dope. But is he actually going to go for 2,000 yards again?
And Derrick Henry's... I don't hate the Derrick Henry pick there.
No, I mean, when you're in that situation, I'm not... I think I take Derrick Henry.
But think about this. If he goes Kyler there... I love Kyler. I love his upside this year. I think has the highest ceiling of any player in fantasy this year, just from what he was doing before he kind of got banged up last year. If he goes Kyler at 6, you know who's available at instead of Kelsey at 15? Nick Chubb, Saquon.
The problem with that, and I was gonna actually when I looked at that, I was gonna say, oh yeah, you missed out on some running backs you could have there.
And then you get your boy Darren Waller at 26.
The reason I'm saying this right now, the reason I decided not to say anything about it is Travis Kelce is just that much better.
He's good. He's the best.
And you want to know what I think McMillan should do? Get a king's ransom for Travis Kelce right now. Because I was about to say oh, how do you take Kelce?
You're trying to get a trade in here, aren't you?
No, I mean, I would not give up a king's ransom for Travis Kelce. But my thing here is I was about to say the exact same thing you're saying. Is why Travis Kelce there? There's other better options, and I was about to be Travis Kelce's not that much better than the next best.
Yeah,
he is.
He really is.
He just legitimately is. And not only that, if you take Darren Waller off of that, he almost doubles the third tight end.
Right.
It's fucking I took 2 tight ends. He legitimately doubled up. 10 points, 10 or 20 points off, doubling up both of the tight ends that I took, and those were tight ends 4 and 6 last year. Travis Kelce's just that much better, and maybe. I don't know if I don't know if Jason would try to pull off a trade with him. I feel like you don't normally take someone like Travis Kelce in the second round to trade him away.
Nope.
But when your running backs are David Montgomery and Darrell Henderson, when your best wide receiver is Amari Cooper, like I said, I like getting Adam Thielen in the 7th, but I had Chase Claypool last year. I don't trust him.
Chase Claypool's the third wide receiver I'd want to own in Pittsburgh. I'd rather have Juju over
of course,
Chase Claypool, obviously. And
theoretically, Juju should be the number 1 there.
Give me Deontay Johnson at the end
maybe.
of the season.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, how did they actually all fall out last year?
Check it out.
I'm actually curious.
And then after this, we will go into our top 3. Or, I'm sorry, our week 1 predictions.
Yeah,
our way too early week 1 predictions.
They were pretty close. They were all between 18 and 23.
Sure.
Juju beat him out pretty close, but Claypool was just so boom or bust. It was ridiculous.
The only reason I picked Deontay is because he had the most points per game last season. I think he missed
11-9, 11-5, 11-6.
They're all close.
Like I said, they're all just like, it's so close. So who really pulls away from the pack? You know why one of the reasons why I think Juju might actually be the bigger breakout one this year? 1-year deal. He's playing for a contract.
Yeah. That always just make people
Chase
hungry.
Claypool's only in the second year of his rookie deal. I don't know how long has Deontay Johnson been around?
I don't know.
You Google that real quick. Just Deontay Johnson. I can see it on his Wikipedia page.
He's 25.
Couldn't type wiki at the end of that. Okay, yeah, this is going to be his 3rd year.
Yeah.
Again, on his rookie deal for at least another 2 years. Like, Juju needs the stats this year to earn a contract.
Sure.
So, a lot of people always go a lot bigger in contract years.
That's true.
So, but here's again why I struggle with where did he get Deontay Johnson?
Well, I mean,
or who has Deontay Johnson?
He went in round 7, right here to James.
To James. Okay. Beginning of round 7.
Yeah.
Really, and again, we already talked about how close him and Juju were. Even how close Chase Claypool was. Where did Chase Claypool go?
The 9th.
9th. Again, so they're all super, super close. 20 extra picks?
There were a lot of drops by Deontay Johnson, though.
18 picks to round 8? I mean,
I actually...
25? Like...
If Deontay Johnson had been available instead of T. Higgins, that was who I was going for. And it's because... Again, he had some drops. I think he's due to finish a little bit higher. I think Ben likes him. I do have a lot of shares of Deontay Johnson this year. I haven't been able to get him yet with those shares, but I like the kid. Let's do our preview. And
getting into week 1?
Getting into week 1. Let me just... I don't know why it's... What is this? Oh. I don't know why it's doing this. That's strange. Well, man, a lot of problems with the overlay this year. Or not the overlay, but the... Oh, there we go. Now I fixed it. Aren't I great? All right. So let's talk week 1 predictions. Way too early, may I add, week 1 predictions. We start with
a week and a half.
This is what we call, for the first time ever, the podcast bowl. You need to change your team name, though.
Yeah,
As you can tell.
No, I'm not going to change my team name. I mean, you know why? Because I should fucking have Adam Thielen. Fuck you, Jason. Yeah, it was Jason. It wasn't James.
almost cursed out the wrong guy there. No, hey, you could always do what Jason Smith did and not change your team name.
Yeah.
And then get the Sacco because of it and have a cursed season where everyone just mollywops you and you set the league record for most points against you.
I mean, I pretty much have done that like multiple times. I still make the playoffs because of the wild card. So
you should change your team name.
We'll see.
But as you noticed, but really quick, my team name has changed. I even put in the little picture, Hot Chub Time Machine, with the 4 guys who are my team leaders. It's pretty great. I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Photoshop's great. Anyway, who you got in our matchup? I can't possibly imagine who you're gonna pick. Obviously, we're picking ourselves, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like,
I'm picking myself.
Fuck you.
I like my team a lot better than I like your team.
So, I like my team a lot better than I like your team.
Weird.
Yeah, crazy, right? So that one's easy.
Yeah.
I do think a lot's going to actually come down to like the quarterback play. Obviously, like I think you have an advantage. When it comes to running backs, I think you have a slight edge on wide receivers. I think Slight. Yeah, Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, I think I have a huge upside. I think you have an edge. You have an edge on running back and wide receiver. I have an edge on quarterbacks, and I think it's pretty much everything else is a wash. T.J. Hawkinson is maybe is better than Mike Gesicki.
I might also start Logan Thomas. It's still a question there.
But I'm saying
also my flex thing is super in the air because like if you can scroll down. For my flex, I'm choosing between Miles Sanders, Julio Jones, Tyler Lockett, Juju.
Yeah, you got a lot of tough decisions to make. Meanwhile, my team, it's going to be this. Barring something crazy, this is going to be my line. Like, I know, one of the things I always like to say is I know who I'm starting. And if any of these guys on my bench blow up, maybe I start moving them, into my lineup for the next week. But this is going to be my lineup, almost certainly.
Yeah.
Moving on to Alex and Zach. It's funny because I had Alex in my top 3, as did James. Zach was in my top 3 as well, but he was in your bottom 3. I'll say that of the two of them, if I had to pick one, I like Alex more than I like Zach. And it's primarily because of his running backs.
Yeah.
Like, I like Zeke and Najee more than I like Joe Mixon and Myles Gaskin.
I definitely do. The wide receiver, I just don't love Mike Evans is the problem. I'd like to say that I like his wide receivers more. Like, I think I like Devontae Adams just so much more than Justin Jefferson.
Absolutely. I think Jefferson has high upside. I think he could be a top 5 wide receiver at the end of the year, but I think there's also, he's not as much of a lock as Devontae Adams because Devontae Adams is the best fantasy wide receiver in the game. Mike Evans is the guy who's boom or bust. 1 week he'll get 20. 1 week he'll get 4.
I'm surprised he finished 10 last year.
He did, but that's, again, because he's boom or bust.
Yeah. No, I'm saying I'm surprised he even finished that high. Because when you see this, hey, look at this 1.5 point week.
Look at that 4.7, 7.1, 6.7.
Yeah, I'm literally agreeing with you.
And those are the performances that lose you weeks if your guy doesn't perform.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of mouths to feed now more than ever in Tampa Bay.
And I do like Alex's quarterback situation a lot more.
Yeah.
Like Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson is a much better thing, especially when Dak Prescott, is his shoulder okay?
Still coming. Yeah, he's fine. They're saying, but yeah.
And I'm not big on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I would say that. I'm not big on Matt Stafford this year, but
I think Matt Stafford is going to do so much better than he did in Detroit.
Well, that's because he came from Detroit.
But he was still a borderline. Actually, where did he finish last year? 15 with who was his best wide receiver in Detroit?
Kenny Galladay.
Kenny Galladay.
Yeah,
Number
Marvin
2
Jones Jr.
Was it Marvin Jones was still there?
Yeah, both of them were still there last year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate Matt Stafford. I think he's a fine
I think he's an upgrade over. He's an upgrade.
QB2.
He's an upgrade over Jared Goff, and he has much better weapons this year. He has a better offensive line. I mean, part of the thing is he actually has a defense.
No,
so he doesn't. He's not going to have to throw 50 times a game.
And he has Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are weapons. I don't hate Matt Stafford. Hate. I think he's. Okay.
I like him better than Jalen Hurts right now.
Fair enough.
For sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, but I got Alex, so I think we're both agreeing.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Alex. Surprisingly, there's such a big. I think this is the biggest disparity in the projections too, though. Zach is projected to win by 10.
Is he really?
Yeah, it was 121 to 111.
Wow,
that's what I'm saying. It's
that's significant.
It is. I'm pretty sure that's the biggest gap of any of the games.
Maybe Justin Jefferson, maybe the questionable. I don't know. Maybe the questionable status is factoring. I don't know.
Yeah.
A closer projection here: Window and McMillan. I think Window is in your bottom 3, or at least was talked about. I had McMillan in my bottom 3. I will say of the two teams here.
Mm-hmm.
It's close. I like Window's team more. I really do.
The main reason...
But I said it, and then I hate tight end. Oh, I'm looking at tight end matchup, and I hate it.
Tight end matchup is tough. But you want to know what's a bigger thing right here? Well, kind of a two-part thing. Well, I don't like either one of their flexes. But look at the Superflex.
He's not starting his second quarterback.
Right now, McMillan is not starting a second quarterback.
Why?
He has 3 quarterbacks, and he's only starting 1 right now. Maybe this is just because this is how the highest projections is, but aren't you a little bit concerned that if that is the highest projection...
He's going to start a second quarterback. He has to start a second quarterback. I would be absolutely shocked.
Hold on, I gotta see his roster. Give me a
Go
second.
to opposing teams. It should. Go to opposing teams.
Sorry, I got it right here. Let's see. Daryl Henderson projected 10. No, like he's not. Like he could be projected an extra like 6 points right now if he puts in Matt Ryan. So
And he's gonna start Matt Ryan almost certainly.
I have to imagine that he's going to. Maybe we shouldn't be throwing out advice to him right now.
Go to fantasy go back or whatever. Go to fantasy cast. I just I would give the edge to Window, but for that tight end matchup that I cannot stand.
I mean, it's still a little tough to try and actually do a projection when I don't honestly believe this is what these two rosters are going to look like come game day.
But like assuming that McMillan starts Matt Ryan, you have a general. Again, these are the way too early predictions, but you have a general idea.
All right, it's just glitching right now.
Yeah, because that's my lineup. Well,
it's also like saying Josh Allen is showing a picture of
that's
Patrick Mahomes.
That's weird. I'll fix it. Hold on. These are technical difficulties, not on our end. Weird. I have never seen
hit
this.
refresh, maybe?
That's crazy. There we go. Fixed. So of those players you see on that lineup, like of the starting line, and you know that Matt Ryan's going to be instead of Daryl Henderson. I gotta change my mind. I think I don't know.
Going McMillan?
It's like a coin flip, man.
It is a coin flip on this one, I will say.
Like, I think Mahomes and Baker will outscore Brady and Matt Ryan by about the same amount that Travis Kelce will outscore Kyle Pitts. So then I look to the wide receivers. They're pretty close. I look to the running backs. They're
I honestly don't know.
I'm honestly like, it's a coin flip. I'll just pick one out of a gut instinct.
I'm going to go with McMillan.
I'm going to go with Window because I had McMillan in my bottom three. I didn't have Window there.
I had Window in my bottom three. I'm going to go with McMillan here.
Yeah. So we disagree on that one too. Also, I still need to figure out which one of us did better on Pick'em last year. Yeah. I'll do that at some point. Jason Smith and James.
So Jason, something we didn't really talk about. He doesn't have a tight end right now.
Oh yeah, because he drafted
Irv Smith is out.
Irv Smith, who is out, and he doesn't have him as an IR yet.
No, so he still has him in his lineup, which is why he's projected to lose by so much right now. So assuming he throws in even a streaming tight end, it's going to be a bit much closer than this 55%, this 11-point victory that it's currently projecting.
Let's look who it's likely to be. Want to give him some free fantasy advice?
Evan Ingram, who's also questionable. Austin Hooper, who's not the only one there. Hunter Henry, which is not the only one there. It ain't looking... How much of a cliff did Zach Ertz fall off of? He is still a free agent right now.
That's crazy. I would say if you're going to pick someone on this team, maybe Blake Jarwin.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's who I'd pick. Or Jared Cook and Austin Hooper are fine too, but I'd say if I were picking someone right now, I'd pick Blake Jarwin. Assuming that they're all projected like at max 5 or 6, right? So assuming that it brings the projection to 117 to 111, not that projections mean anything, but like that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference in this matchup is one team has running backs, one team does not.
But he's also what? Is Ryan Tannehill actually out this week?
No, he's on the COVID. He was on the COVID list or something like that. He'll play.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll play. 100% he'll play. Not 100%, but like he'll play.
Okay.
But yeah. DeAndre Swift and Mike Davis versus Dalvin Cook and Chris Carson.
Yeah, no, I'm going with James, obviously. Even when he adds in a tight end, it doesn't really matter. I like his team just top to bottom better.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. That's a very quick one. Last one for the week. I don't know why I'm doing this on the OBS when I should be doing it over here. Daryl. I'm not even going to say Daryl Nick anymore because Nick's not paying attention. He's not listening to the podcast. He's not voting on anything. So I'm going to say Daryl, and I'm going to say Brad. So Brad was my number one team in my top 3, bottom 3, and Daryl was in my bottom 3.
And you're about to pick Daryl.
No, of course not. Like, don't get me wrong, Daryl has fantastic running backs. He has fantastic wide receivers. He's got, like, He has a great team, but for his quarterback and Superflex.
Yeah, so I think the big...
Brad also has Gus Edwards in a Superflex, which he needs to change, but...
Oh. Yeah, he'll put Trevor Lawrence in there.
Absolutely.
So I think...
Then I'll probably start Gus Edwards instead of Kareem Hunt.
Obviously, I like Brad's quarterbacks better. I like Daryl's running backs better. The wide receivers are pretty close, but I think I like Daryl's better. I'm not big on Chris. I just don't like... I don't think anybody in Tampa Bay's offense is going to get enough volume. I'm just not big on it. Although CeeDee Lamb also also says out, but again Michael Gallup is there, Amari Cooper is there, so that's obviously not the same. Tight end's not close. I mean, Raheem Mostert is the starter
for now. I do love how I drafted Trey Sermon, and then he goes, I'll pick the starting running back. All right, fuck you, man. I love you, though, but fuck you. Oh, that's funny. So are you going Daryl? Sounds like you're going Daryl. I mean, you two are the brothers in this case study. You got to support your man. You two both decided, hey, you know what the right time to draft a quarterback in a 2-quarterback league is? The 10th round. This is your boy.
Where did Chris Godwin fall last year? I'm actually curious. 32. Okay. Oh, man. I'm back and forth. Obviously Brad's quarterbacks are so much better. The running backs are so much better. Wide receivers are close. Flex is relatively close. Tight end goes to Daryl.
Yeah, I'd say quarterbacks obviously go to Brad.
Obviously, I like the Broncos' defense against the Giants much more than I'm going to like the Colts against Seattle.
Colts have a decent defense.
Colts, they do, but again, I just like Seattle's offense a lot better.
And I hate the Giants' offense. But, Daryl wins running backs. Daryl probably wins receivers. Daryl certainly wins tight ends. Brad wins quarterbacks.
And that's it.
Is that enough? I think so.
I'm going with Daryl.
All right.
I'm going with Daryl.
We disagree on 3 picks this week. So that's our week 1 podcast. Sorry about the little minor glitches here or there, but thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you like the new graphics and everything. We will... How long did we go? Do we know? 1 hour and 21 minutes. Whoo! Maybe longest episode ever?
I don't know. We've had some long ones.
It
might be.
It might have started earlier. I don't know. But this should hopefully be on the YouTube page. Say it for those who haven't watched it yet. I'll make sure the link is up. Good luck. Thanks for watching. Thanks for drafting. And we'll see you guys in week 1. And last thing. League events this year. We're going to do them. Yeah. We're already talking.
COVID's not an excuse anymore.
Daryl, please, let us know your availability at some point after, I think you said after mid to late November when you want to do a league event out where you live. We will come out there. We'll get a whole big thing going. But I want to get some league events together in, Frederick and DC, maybe in Hagerstown can do one. Who knows who will travel to Hagerstown, but we'll get some league events going. So, thanks for watching. See you next week.